1 2 check 1 2 hello Patch.
Hey.
Hello the interwebs, or whatever the space, the place where we are streaming or presenting to.
Whoever's listening,
we're here. Oh my god, Patch, with your bass scooping voice. Oh yeah.
All right,
cool. So off the podcast we were talking about some mindfulness things.
Yeah.
Remembering the first episode, which I guess is called the special episode 01, because it couldn't have been a proper episode anyways.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So it was the radio marathon.
Yeah.
55 hours. Everything started great from what I hear. Like, you know, the radio shows there. Everyone has had their spot. Everything was nice and tidy, and everyone was silent, quiet.
Yeah.
But as the days went by, everyone just forgot about the main purpose and so we were at the last 5 hours of it, and everyone was already shouting, not caring too much about people being on air. So apologies for that episode, and we're not gonna call it the first episode. This is gonna be the first episode, the first one properly, like the first proper episode, I guess.
Yep.
The last one was the special radio 55-hour radio marathon special. So yeah, we were talking about our motto, which we don't really have yet, do we?
No.
So we were talking last week about that, and I don't know where I got this from. You see, running water never grows stale. Okay, yeah, I'll just repeat it again.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that this is a really good motto for a podcast, but I don't know if it is or if it's not. Like, what are your thoughts on this? Like, I know we ended on this last week, so let's just pick our brain a bit.
So personally, I think it's pretty shallow. It's because it's so broad. Like the quote is so without context.
Okay.
Yeah. So like it could really mean anything to anyone, and like running water. Are we the? I guess we're trying to encompass that we're the running water,
and what if
the listeners are the running water? And if we want to be running water, then what do? Like listen to a podcast?
Yeah, because that's not defined, is it?
It's not.
What if we are just that scoop, and the running water, the river itself, it's the stream of consciousness and everything? Yeah.
I thought,
and we're just scooping something out of that water, but because the water is running and the news are flowing, the mind and body, whatever, just new things are just coming every time you just see something and think of it, and it just comes and goes, and then sometimes we decide to scoop it out of this hole.
I don't know. I mean, like, personally,
what a weird
thing. I made up the inside scoop. I thought it was more like a satire thing, because like usually it's like, oh, we're all about the scoop, the news, but here we're for insight. It's more chill, right? We don't have to find like, we give insights. We're here to get woke, really, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's not about being very like objective to the point where you can't even have a rational conversation or a discussion, because you have to have your scientific facts checked and stuff.
Yeah, let's be honest, we can't be perfectly objective anyways.
No.
We can try to be.
As much as we can, and if we're wrong, we're asking to be corrected, and we want to improve and learn. And
we'll give our opinions either way.
It's just
after we try.
Natural, I guess, because everything nowadays is just opinions everywhere. News is blasting opinions at you, even if it's news, and you would think that this is unbiased news, it's still opinions of someone. Either it was some person,
Mm-hmm.
or it was some bigger mechanism like, the Republicans bought a news source, and then now the news media outlet is, trying to slide their ideas in.
I mean, honestly, it's where you frame the news, right? Like what you're listening at. And usually conventional news, conventional. I mean, the ones you like see in papers and on websites, it's usually about politics, because that's where new content's always coming out, right? And it's all about famous people or political situations, tensions, whatever. Because that's, cutting edge stuff. You always need to keep up to date with that if you're in that kind of situation. And that's where the opinions come in. But if you're going more into, because I'm studying on more of the scientific side in courses, right? In biochemistry, and it's like the news there, they don't really. It's pretty hard to give an opinion, because if you're not being objective, then you're not being scientific, and there isn't really other motive other than trying to break the paper. If no one else can destroy its findings, then it's a good paper.
Yeah, well, academia is a bit different, I guess, from politics.
Very different. Yeah, it's just a different mindset. It's a different community that you're trying to get into, and it's the same if you go into other spheres, right? If you want to look into, I don't know, like fashion or something, and like, of course, there's going to be opinions, because some people you have tastes. But if it's like new styles and stuff, then of course people are going to try and take it in,
These insights are the opinions, and they come from the mind.
Yeah.
I remember you...
So
you raised the point about the mind being a bit...
Perhaps a different model would be... A sound mind rests in a sound body.
Sound mind rests in a sound body.
Because I was trying to think that, hey, if we're trying to be woke, then we should look after ourselves, right? It's not just about enriching what our thoughts are, but also how you can take care of your body at the same time.
Yeah.
Because we can talk about health sometimes, right? I mean, we are both martial artists or practitioners.
Yes. And I like this. Yeah, I like this quote. I actually don't know where you dug it up from, but I like it.
I derived it from a Japanese thing. It's the full thing would be more like a sound soul rests in a sound mind and a sound body. Or should I read the Japanese?
Well, you can try. Yeah.
Sure, so, 健全なる魂は健全なる精神と健全なる肉体に宿る. So it's more the direct translation would be more a sound soul rests in a sound mind and body. But it's more.
So it's separating the soul and the mind.
Yeah, but it's more like a 3-step thing.
So it's also separating the mind and the body. That's what you mean.
They're trying to show that there's 3 things you need to take care of, and the body is the base of it all, because that's where everything rests.
Okay.
Then it goes to the mind, and then it goes to like the spirit or the soul, which is kind of abstract, but you kind of get where they're going at. And there's also a Latin derivative, which is older. I believe they probably took it from there. So it's mens sana in corpore sano. I hope I'm giving the pronunciation justice, but just a healthy mind and a healthy body, which was from a Roman poet, Juvenal. Yeah.
So I guess it's a bit easier to grasp, but a healthy mind and a healthy body, basically. Something like that. And then Japanese are also adding the spirit aspect.
It's more like the encompassing of it all. If you have both working in function and the both are quite equal, then you have good thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Because if you, because you could view it like this: if your body is very healthy, but your mind is not, then you could be seen as emotionally unstable. Or more like a strong man child, perhaps. And if you have the other way around, a strong mind but a weak body, people could see you as neurotic, and that's that kind of thing. And it comes together, and that's what I believe they're trying to put together is, when it comes together, these things should be about equal.
Yeah.
They should match each other in the right way, and that gives you a good presence.
So not only you have to better yourself by learning things, and you also have to, let's say, taking care of the body. So maybe exercising, eating healthy, all these things. Is that what you mean?
So I was trying to say, like, if you eat bad, you're gonna feel bad, right? People usually get that. Yeah. Eat bad, you'd feel bad. You eat a lot of chips, you just drink soda all the time. You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Like,
I've known many vegetarians.
Yeah.
I know many vegans.
Yeah.
I remember this guy who he had long dreadlocks, like long, even touching his bum, like so thick, and he was ripped, like he was muscular and strong, but then also his mind. So I think it's one of the examples of what we're actually talking about, a person who has it all figured out. Because I remember talking to him about some sort of monks which, like, hundreds of years ago discovered how to connect your left brain, what is this, hemisphere?
Yeah, hemisphere.
With your right one.
Yeah.
And how if you get that connection, these guys live for more than 500 years because they defeat aging and whatever. It was an interesting discussion.
Okay.
More of like a monologue, I guess, to listen.
Yeah.
But it's basically an example of a person who is interested in the spirituals.
Yeah.
And he's also, well, again, I say ripped.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I asked him, so what's your secret, whatever, he's like, well, I'm also vegetarian. It's like, oh, wait, so you don't eat, like you don't eat fats and meat, and how do you make your diet so full and rich then? And well, he explained about kale and different, plants and stuff.
There's so many things. You could perfectly get your nutrition from plants, except for some supplements if you can't get the more exotic things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's perfectly fine. But let me get this straight. The left and right hemispheres are already connected.
Oh man. I'm getting mind blown right now.
They're already connected. It's called the corpus callosum.
Mm-hmm.
You hear some people getting this not being connected, and there's surgeries that they don't do it anymore, but there are some people still living today who's had this surgery where they disconnect the left and right hemispheres, and it's kind of like
disconnect, not connect.
Yeah, it's supposedly it stops seizures, people who are prone to seizures, but once they found out like it's not in practice anymore. There's a split brain thing where it happens on, like, there's a disconnect in what your left and right arm does and what your left and right eyes see, even. Yeah. Because different parts of the brain, take control of different parts of the body. You can see things, you can speak things, but your thoughts will never be the same because there's two different things going on.
So you say if you disconnect your hemispheres, you have two brains.
It's called split brain syndrome.
Split brain syndrome.
So it's pretty crazy because, like, one side can recognize faces but can't speak, and that side doesn't understand reasoning,
and
it's also part of, like, I don't remember this completely correct, but if one hand gives something to the other, and I don't remember which side controls what, but I believe the side that does the speaking, if it doesn't know why it's been given the object, it's going to make an excuse for it. And this is part of human reasoning. Like, we're trying to find the most direct reason that something is. Trying to not waste energy trying to think about it.
Okay.
So if I like, passed a water bottle from my left to the right, and like I realized, why am I holding this? I'm like, oh, it's because I was probably thirsty and I like take a drink.
Oh.
Yeah, and then make like different clothing choices and food choices as well. It's pretty crazy, and it comes back to like you need the brain. Is it part of the mind? Yes, it's part of the body as well. It's neither are healthy.
Mm-hmm. The mind and the body connection.
Yeah.
So the mind.
They call it mind-body fallacy because like some people believe that the mind controls, right? Like you can use willpower, and willpower is in fact infinite. They've done studies on this. So if you believe it, you will have infinite willpower. This is actually a thing. People who believe this will just have more willpower. It's not a limited resource, all right? It's just your force of will. But people believe that if you have enough willpower, then you can just overcome anything, right? It sounds idealistic. It sounds so romantic, right? And it should be true, right? You can make your body do a lot of things. And you can train yourself to control a lot of your body, even those that are usually autonomous. You can slow your heartbeat, whatever.
Yeah.
Stop your breathing. You can't do everything, right?
Mm-hmm. You can't just jump in front of a train and say,
you don't.
I will not die now on the train.
I don't mean it like that, but if you don't have like the resources in your body to sustain whatever you're trying to do, then of course you're going to fail because the brain runs on sugar, right?
Okay.
It runs on glucose. And I don't mean like added sugar. I don't mean like carbohydrates because your body can actually produce glucose by itself. The liver can synthesize these things along with cholesterol, and that's why these people, a lot of people eat these diets that don't contain sugar, don't contain carbohydrates, like keto. Maybe they don't eat cholesterol. Like in the modern diets today, a lot of people try to cut cholesterol, and it's fine because your liver can produce enough for your body, which is actually crucial for a lot of repair that your body does.
Cholesterol.
Yeah, cholesterol is very important. Let's not get into that. I have no.
I mean, I think I've heard about the good and the bad cholesterol, whatever, and they say, oh, it's so bad it clogs, and then it's like, no.
I mean, that's based on old research, but let's not get into that.
Okay, because you need it
later
anyway.
Yeah.
So you mean the sugar can be produced. The glucose.
Yeah, the glucose
which is used for energy.
Yes.
So it's used for energy, the glucose. And you're saying that
60% of your glucose goes to the brain.
Okay. And it can be produced
by the liver.
By the liver.
Yes, from other derivatives like fat.
Oh. So does that mean you don't need to eat sugar, you can eat fat? And it's gonna maybe produce some sugar too?
Yeah. I guess this ties into keto, and I am a practitioner myself. So I don't precisely remember I'm not a scientist myself, and so these are just things I've read about it, and I feel like it's been working for me. So how it works is, how I think it works is, it undergoes a state where you're completely changing your metabolism, right? So you're not running on carbohydrates anymore. You don't break down these sugars. Your muscles don't run on glucose, right? So instead, it's breaking down fat. And it's producing these things called ketones, right? These ketone bodies, and it's a state called ketosis. Most doctors would recognize this as like a starvation state, because it's what happens when you don't eat food for a long time as well. You get a lot of these ketone bodies, and it shows like, hey, you're not eating enough like carbs, right? You're not getting the energy. So these ketone bodies are actually can also be used for fuel for the brain.
Okay.
And for the muscles as well. Alongside with any other synthesized things. So they make it from the fats. Yeah. And the strange thing is, you'll find that you'll have a much higher stamina.
Okay.
At least not like long-term stamina. You find that these marathon runners have tried out ketosis and stuff. They don't need to take, because if you know like a serious marathon runner, like they gotta take in like energy drinks and like these gel packets, energy packets all the time, and they're gonna have these highs and lows.
Okay.
But if you go on ketosis, you're running on fat, right? And you had to have stores of that, and it's slow burning. So you're gonna have a much longer run with stable energy.
Oh.
Yeah. It does come with the trade-off. You lose some like burst power because there's like this fast twitch and the slow twitch muscles. The fast twitch runs on glucose as well, or they make a fuel out of it. But yeah, it's not that big of an effect that I've noticed.
But well, the ketogenic diet is a very low carb, high fat diet that shares blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Involves drastically reducing carbohydrate intake and replacing it with fat. So, in a sense, where I would think, our body, we have body fat.
Yeah.
And if, let's say, according to this description anyway, which I just read off Google, you replace the carbohydrates with fats, means you consume more fats.
Yes.
Can you also not consume too much fat so that your body just naturally burns your fat? Let's say if let's say some people are overweight.
That's the special thing about it, is that it goes hand in hand with stuff like fasting. So perhaps you've heard of intermittent fasting or actual just fasting. And like I said, the starvation state is ketosis, right?
Ketosis.
So they'll go into the same kind of state. It's just you're sustaining the fuel, and even if you're worried about body fat, you're gonna cycle it anyways, because you're taking in fat. That fat isn't going to be used all at once, so you're gonna cycle body fat at the same time. It might not be all at once. If you're really struggling, do a true fast. If you want, what they generally say is first 3 days are hell. After that, your hunger pangs will go away. It does take some time, a lot of perseverance.
So would it mean that if, let's say, a person has a lot of body fat, and he just stopped eating, would he not starve to death?
No. They've actually done it here. I don't remember what his name was, but there's it's done here in Scotland. There's a man who did like a year-long fast. He was severely overweight. He worked with his doctor. He ate nothing but water and supplements, like for, because you need like minerals and stuff. There's a lot of things your body can't produce. Oh, that's a special thing. Your body can produce so many things, but the only thing your body doesn't have to take in is carbohydrates. There's essential amino acids, essential minerals, essential vitamins. There's no essential carbohydrate. You don't have to eat any of that.
Really?
Yeah.
So you have to eat vitamins or food that has vitamins.
Yeah. You can even do keto on vegetarian. Or even on
plant-based fats?
Yeah. There's plant-based fats and stuff like avocado and those are a bit expensive, but you can run on nuts and stuff. So you can do it totally vegan.
Yeah.
It's fine. As long as if you're missing a few things, you gotta take supplements, of course.
It's basically getting rid of carbohydrates in your diet.
Yeah,
that's what
you don't really need it. And there's been conflicting views that I've seen, because there's glucose and ketone bodies for brain fuel, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot, and that which is more superior. But the general view, from I've seen in the keto community, would be ketone bodies are superior.
Really?
Yeah.
As in, like, in what sense? In endurance of the energy cell, or
it's just stable energy. I believe.
Energy.
Recently I feel like I don't have to eat as much. And I do take dietary supplements when I don't eat, though.
Yeah.
So, getting the minerals, getting the stuff I need.
Okay.
Actually, recently I I unintentionally went on a 2-day fast, and I didn't feel hungry at all. Because
what happened?
It's a special. I'm a foreigner here, so my bank card got locked down, and I didn't know why. But the bank was closed for the weekend, so I just ate nothing. And at first, I was a little hungry. I get some pangs of hunger sometimes, but a strange thing I've been noticing on keto is my hunger doesn't really affect me as much anymore. Getting a lot less of it. And by the time I was near the end of it, like, hey, my roommate made me some food, and like, hey, I'm not hungry though.
Really?
It's like, I'm wondering if I should just continue it and like go on the full fast. But I eventually just got into it because I needed. I knew I was getting back into taekwondo again, so I needed the protein.
Yeah. Let's say currently I am hungry.
Yeah.
I feel my stomach just telling me,
yeah.
Hey, yo, bro, you need to eat something.
Yeah.
That is a natural reaction to, well, being hungry, or
yeah, it's natural.
But what if I did not eat anything till like tomorrow?
So
how does body
that is
react?
a thing. They call it IF. It's intermittent fasting. So it's doing a mini version of this ketosis thing.
Okay.
I don't really know too much about it, honestly. But I do know that hunger is an habituated thing. It's a habit. Like, you can break it, because then you get hungry in the morning if you eat breakfast normally, right? I don't eat breakfast. Breakfast has never really been my thing, so I never get hungry in the mornings.
Really?
Yeah. It's just the body is good at recognizing patterns. Our minds are good at recognizing patterns. If you set yourself into a pattern, you're going to stick to it.
Really?
If you eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, your body's going to expect that. You get these spikes of hormones that tell you, hey, I'm hungry. Even if your body doesn't really need it too much. They're expecting it.
Is it basically helping you sustain that rhythm of, let's say, if you're eating twice a day or 7 times a day, whatever you're into, your body is just gonna expect food at a
it's a crazy thing. If you hear anecdotes from people who are in times of famine, they can't get any food, they could curb their hunger from drinking tea, which they in their family they would like normally drink tea after a meal, right? Yeah, they drink tea, their body thinks like, oh, we just had a meal, so their hunger pains went away.
Oh, God.
So your body is really good at detecting these patterns.
Because they would still have a sufficient amount of energy. Is that what it is?
Well, no, it's just telling the body like, hey, these hormones can go away now.
Oh, yeah. So, but just the feeling of hunger goes away. What if
the feeling does?
Yeah.
Your body still needs that food.
I've known bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've seen how they eat. Ooh.
Yeah, you have to eat a lot.
Yeah, so this guy, he ate a huge box of rice and chicken, and it was like a huge portion.
Yeah.
I would eat that in 2 good meals.
Yeah.
Like, I eat a lot.
Yeah.
But that was too much. And he said, well, I eat every 2 hours. If it's more than 2 hours, that's it. The rhythm breaks, muscles stop growing, or whatever he said,
That's the thing. Their body mass is usually much bigger than ours. And think about this. Muscles are far more dense than fat, right? So, and when you're running on carbohydrates, which is a very quick, very cheap, and a very, high energy thing, and your body has to burn through all that using all those muscles, and even just for upkeep, you have to repair, you have to use them, like you have to use so much just even for maintenance. just being bigger. And that's like the thing, like you see a lot of obese people, they have to eat a lot because their bodies are big. They committed so much into building all those fat cells, and those fat cells require upkeep just to store fat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
Yeah, even if you get rid of the fat, those fat cells are still gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
You're still gonna be hungry.
And what if they just stopped eating? Just pushed. Thinking back to the topic we started with, how our mind is powerful enough to overcome many things. What if they just said to themselves, okay, I'll lock myself in a room for a week, a month, because I theoretically know that I have enough energy stored in myself just to lay down, or I don't know, do whatever you
mean
want.
An obese person?
Yeah, let's say
so
you just stopped eating
like I
altogether.
said, there was someone who in Scotland did this, like I believe it was even over a year. They had no health deficits at the end of it. They got he tested his body. He did it over a year. He was extremely obese, and by the end he shaved off all the fat.
Oh.
Yeah. And no health deficits at the end. He worked with his doctor. He ate supplements. He only drank water and ate supplements. That's it.
So it must have been a very strong-willed person to go through, because all the hunger cravings and everything, you still have them, but I don't think you can just escape the feel of wanting to just eat something.
I mean, have you tried it? If you go into the fasting community, generally they would say after 3 days the hunger would go away, and maybe resurface after a week or even a month, or even longer. And yeah, that's how it is. It depends on the person. Like
I mean, sometimes it does feel like you forget to eat.
Yeah, like
sometimes I'm, let's say, so busy and involved in something, doing some certain things, and just at the end of the day I just remember that I didn't even eat breakfast or anything, but I did not feel hungry. And then at the very end, when I remember that, that's when the hunger kicks in.
Yeah,
in the evening, you just, after everything settles, like, oh, it was such a busy day, I did not eat, and then you're just like, oh, but I didn't eat. That's the thing. And you start feeling weak and shivering, like, I want to eat, I'm so weak, This is something that, well, I haven't tried, as you say. Like, have you tried? Well, yeah, I haven't tried, but I've noticed it, that, well, it is possible to, I guess, forget about the feeling of hunger.
Yeah, it's a habituated thing. Yeah. And you being focused. This is the thing. The mind and the body are connected. It doesn't mean that you're forcing the body to change for you, but the body recognizes what's happening in your mind.
Oh.
Because your mind is still part of the body. I would say it recognizes what's going on in the mind, but it's more recognizing that your brain activity is going on. You're being engaged. So that you're like firing all these different chemicals, and then the rest of the body recognizes these chemicals. So hey, you're busy right now.
Just like there's no time for me to be hungry.
There's no time to be hungry. Yeah. Stuff like, adrenaline does the same. It suppresses appetite. If you're doing lots of sports and stuff, you shouldn't be eating. If you were eating, you'd feel bloated because there's all this food that you suddenly feel in your body, and it's not being digested. And while you're heightening your senses, it's getting in the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Thinking back to the body-mind thing, I have told many people, I believe in the power of the mind. Like, I've said this sentence many times.
Yeah.
I believe in the power of the mind. It was, I guess, less in a sense that you can physically alter your body by that. I think you can, maybe, but it's just like, yeah, and we'll get into it. But I was more like, if you feel upset, or if you like, depressed or whatever, if you set your mind straight, and if you basically you can get out of that. That was, well, my theory, and I usually stood by it, so that if I firmly believe in something and then I guess it's the law of attraction that comes in, like when you like really believe something in your life. I know this is gonna happen, this is chill, we're gonna go through it, everything's gonna be okay. And I haven't been let down by this theory so far, I guess. But some people, well, not to speak about everyone with let's say depression, clinical depression or anything, because I'm fortunate enough to not have it, or to have avoided it by having a certain mindset, let's say.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I have a lot to say on this, actually. I would agree with you and also disagree with you, because depression is not okay. There's a lot of people who claim to have depression. Let's be honest. If you're just claiming to have depression, and if it's just a state of mind, you can break out of it. And if you are just saying that you can't, you're weakening the plight of other people who have these problems for real because of body deficits. There are people who will secrete hormones that just make them depressed all the time. They have these problems. Sometimes the brain is being altered by these depression suppressing drugs for so long they're dependent on them. Because that's the thing, like a lot of, I don't remember, I need to look this up. There's a medicine that people prescribe right now. They still don't understand how it works. It's used to treat depression. They don't know how it works. They don't understand how it works. What it does, it blocks, like, I haven't done the research on this.
Well,
I
guess the main term is just antidepressants.
Yeah, antidepressants. Like what they do is usually block some function in the brain, so they're just not producing the hormones, or they're not recognizing the hormones, right? And this, I feel like a lot of people who do this, they've done. Okay, I don't feel this. I've seen studies about it, and 95% of people who have gone through this in the study are under depression. They get over it in a year. They might be depressed during that time, but they get over it in a year.
Is it because of antidepressants?
The antidepressants make make recovery much lower. The chances of recovery are much lower when you depend on these medicines. That doesn't mean that you're free on them. You should get off them. You should work out with your doctor if you want to get off them. Tell them. But yeah, you're gonna become dependent on them, right? It's hard to break. There's no weaning of it, right?
Is it like the ADHD thing with Adderall and everything? Are you aware at all?
What do you mean?
The drug situation or the medicament?
You mean like
the medicine abuse?
Addiction to it?
Yeah, in the States, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, any medicine you take for too long, there's always too much of anything, right? You can always die to anything. If you take in these mind-altering drugs for a long time, yes, you're gonna get that boost in the short term. If you do it too much, your brain's gonna change, right? It's gonna depend on it. Your brain's gonna expect it. It's the norm, right? It's the same thing with smokers, right?
Oh, yeah.
You expect that nicotine.
Yeah.
Other addicts would have these withdrawal symptoms, right? Because your body expects it, right? And you get the smoker's flu. You've heard of that?
Well, not necessarily.
They get the shivers. They get they get a fever.
Okay, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I did not understand the term.
They feel sick. Same with alcohol. They feel sick. They don't have what they need.
Oh.
And this is a thing with keto, actually. You get the keto flu.
Oh.
If you get withdrawals from carbohydrates.
Really?
Which is crazy. I didn't have too much of it for myself, honestly. 'Cause I don't eat too much.
Yeah.
So I didn't get it too strong, but I felt it. Like I'd feel lethargic.
Wow.
I didn't want to get out of bed. I had a fever, slight fever at the time as well.
Yeah.
I had like some mucus dripping out of my nose.
Some different things that you wouldn't observe naturally. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd because it turns out that sugar is addictive, and hey, it turns out that even if you're taking it as a carbohydrate form, it's still addictive.
Wow. So just as every other drug.
Yeah, I mean,
and your body reacts the same, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you've been engineered to love it, right? And like everyone knows in the scientific community, sugar's more addictive than crack.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
It's, what did they also call it? The white death or something?
Yeah. I mean, once you start, you can't stop that easy. You know?
Yeah, it literally alters your body. And well, I remember the study I read about how the food pyramid was formed back in the 70s or something.
Yeah, it's American.
They were showing ads on like pouring fat into the sink and clogging it, and like, guys, no fat, this is bad, fats are bad, and bacon, everything. And they changed up the pyramid, so they or I think they introduced the pyramid.
Yeah, they introduced the pyramid.
Yeah, where grains and everything like that, carbohydrates, were at like at the top, or whatever, however the pyramid works. Basically, you should consume the most of them because meat and fats are making you obese.
I believe it's like vegetables, and then it's like grains and vegetables.
Well,
it's just
something like that they created where, well, grains have to be consumed because why? Well, because if fat is making you fat and obese, then what is there left, so they show that.
Okay, I've actually looked into this. So the reason they introduced the food pyramid is because the president at the time had died to a heart attack.
Oh.
And what was big at the time was the high consumption of lard, which was used to make French fries at the time.
Okay.
So they used a lot of fat and tallow, and also smoking. But smoking was such a big fad then.
Oh my
right?
God.
And you think smoking doesn't give you a heart attack? The president at the time was a well-known heavy smoker, but he was also known for eating a lot of fatty foods. They gotta fix that. This was bad rep.
But see, because the tobacco
industry is big, and it was a really fashionable thing. Yeah. Everyone was smoking back then, right? So they got to help the American population somehow. There was one of two problems, which one was easier to fix, and fat looked like the bigger outlier.
Oh
right?
My God! And then the obesity spiked.
Yes,
if you look at
the obesity actually spiked.
It did.
I mean, it looks like, using less fat and you're using like sunflower oil and stuff to make your French fries. That's actually not better because turns out on these sunflower oil at least has a lot of omega-6, which is an inflammatory substance. You've heard of omega-3, right? It's the good stuff. It's the good stuff.
Wait, isn't it?
Huh?
Is it like the
omega-3 is the good stuff. Omega-6, it causes your body to swell.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's not good for you. And that's what you also see with a lot of these artificial sugars that are replacements. And they're inflammatory.
Damn.
So even if you're drinking diet soda, whatever. Sure, that's good for you. Yeah, being inflamed is better than being addicted on sugar, but it's still bad for you.
Wow.
Depending on the substance. You look it up. I believe Pepsi is the one that has the inflammatory version right now. I don't think Coke has. I haven't looked up this for a while.
I've also heard about the term cleaning yourself off the inflammation and reducing inflammation. I've heard this term thrown around a lot. Inflammation. What is it? Is it just becoming fat, basically?
Inflammation is general swelling. So swelling. Yeah, so like when you get bruised, right? You see this red pop up, and then like it just puffs up, right? So like it's a general inflammation. If you get sick, right?
Okay.
If you see someone with allergies, like they get a bee sting, and like they puff up, entirely. Yeah, it's that. Turns out a lot of plants have a lot of inflammatory substances.
Oh.
That's how they do. How they protect themselves. I mean,
Plants,
yeah, plant toxins.
yeah.
Very, very, very common. They can't run. That's right. So they're expert chemists. That's why we get all our medicine from plants, right?
When you think, let's say, the Chinese medicine, I've talked to my Chinese. Well, no. But see, that's the thing. I talked to my Chinese friend, and he says, well, every single Chinese thing is like based on certain plants. It's just out of the nature, because they say, well, if you're feeling bad, eat this root. If you're feeling good, drink this tea. Or
I won't say that they're wrong, because they are right on a lot of terms. But the fact that how they produce new medicines is not based on effect, like effect and observation, is why they eat a lot of animal organs. And like they poach these rare animals and eat them. And they think it's medicine, right?
Just organs.
And like shark fin and stuff, even though stuff's
that's
just full of mercury.
That's not good.
It has actually no taste if you've eaten it. The shark fin soup they make, they have to boil it in chicken or pork. They have to imbue the soup with flavor, because the shark fin is only there for texture. It has no flavor, and it's full of mercury.
Really?
I will admit the shark fin itself has much less mercury, but it's still...
It's basically not good for you, is it?
It's not good.
Sort of wrapping up, coming up to a more of a conclusion for today.
Yeah.
How does it go? Sound mind rests in the sound body? Something?
Yeah, the sound soul, or a sound soul rests in the sound mind, which rests in the sound body.
3 separate things.
3 things you work up to. You get your body right, you get your mind right, and then you get your presence of self.
Of self.
Yeah. That's what this word they mean, like, because spirit isn't direct. This words mean different things in different languages, and spirit isn't exactly what it means. It is in English.
Yeah. When again, different people believe in different things, and some would say,
and I think
I will reincarnate into like a snake. Someone will say, oh no, when you die your spirit just like disappears.
Yeah.
Some say, well, it goes to heaven, or anything. So it's different. Many differences, I guess. So speaking about that, I guess we will have to continue on this discussion next week.
Yeah. About what? Theology? You want to talk about
theology? Man, no, not necessarily.
It's pretty controversial. Yeah.
See, not necessarily religion and theology. We can just eat. Eat? Did I actually say eat? I think my body is sending me signals.
You're pretty hungry, huh?
Wow, but I should I train myself? Should I train myself to not have these hunger cravings, I guess, when I'm hungry?
I mean, it's up to you. There's intermittent fasting, which is like not eating for... You restrict yourself to eating within 8 hours. And that
within 8 hours.
Yeah.
Well, see, yeah. I guess I'll have to think about it. Well, we can also talk about that in the next episode, talking about diet, because, well, thinking back to it, thinking to the phrase that ended our first special episode, started our first episode, the water running thing, yeah?
Yeah, well, water running whenever runs stale.
There's something like that. Well, either way, you have to have that balance. You have to have that control of yourself. You have to have your body and mind and everything in check. So our goal, and we were discussing this because we were thinking, what's the motto of our podcast? Well, we may not have discovered one yet, but the goal of the podcast is to get woke and just, okay, so, well, it sounds funny. But I guess many things fit under that term. Because my main idea of this podcast is, again, self-improvement, self-knowledge, improvement of self, basically. So I think everything that we discussed today fits under that category, sort of. So, like... Yeah. empowering yourself
I feel
with
like
the
it all,
mind,
yeah.
you know?
I feel like it all fits under insight.
Yeah. Oh, insight. You're just scooping the inside again.
Yeah.
No, well, see, I think bettering yourself in all the ways should be our goal. So we don't necessarily have to try and stay, you know, let's say, the only way to become actually, you know, self-knowledgeable, whatever, you have to be empathetic, you have to be this, well, but don't forget about eating well.
Yeah.
Don't forget about sleeping well.
Yeah.
You don't just tell everyone, hey, don't curse. Well, don't curse, don't swear, because that also looters your mind, and you also, you know, just
we gotta speak about sleep next episode. That's a big thing.
So I'll just write it down.
Yeah.
Where we'll be talking about,
like, if sleep. Anyone listens to this, there's a little nugget of information for you. Sleep is not a charge bar. We're not batteries. You gotta go through the cycle. All right. Get that full sleep in. It turns out that 6 is not the minimum. It turns out it's 8. 6.
The minimum.
The minimum amount of sleep you should get per day should be 8. 6 is to not get side effects, like detrimental long term. That's the limit. Apparently.
Well, I've heard that sleeping clears out the liquids of your brain and everything.
It turns out it's the only way to clean your brain. Really? So, like, all the fluids up there, they're gonna stay up there until you sleep.
And on that note, guys, 9 p.m. here.
Hey,
we have to go to sleep.
Nah, you gotta get some food, man. You're just too hungry for this. All right, but thanks for tuning into the Inside Scoop.
The Inside Scoop is scooping on. Or scoop. What did you say last time?
I'm scooping on my brains here. I don't know.
Anyway, thanks for listening. See you next week.
Bye.